Kaya had always been a brave and curious teenager. So when she met Carmen, a quiet and reserved girl in her school, she was eager to get to know her better. The two quickly became close friends, and Carmen eventually invited Kaya over to her house after school. As soon as Kaya entered the house, she was struck by the eerie atmosphere. The air felt heavy and still, and there was a sense of foreboding that seemed to linger in every corner. In one particular room, in a tower high in the house, the walls were lined with shelves, each one packed with hundreds of dolls and miniature dollhouses. They were all exquisitely crafted, with intricate details and lifelike expressions, but there was something unsettling about them that made Kaya's skin crawl. Carmen's mother, Amanda, was a doll maker and took great pride in her craft. She showed Kaya around the doll room, pointing out each doll and describing how she had painstakingly crafted them from scratch. Kaya couldn't help but be impressed by Amanda's skill, but she couldn't shake off the feeling of unease that lingered in the air. As the evening went on, Kaya began to realize that Amanda was not only a doll maker but also a strict and domineering parent. She would scold Carmen and her younger brother Jacob for the slightest misbehavior, often resorting to harsh punishments. Kaya couldn't help but feel sorry for the children who seemed to be trapped in their mother's shadow. One night, while Kaya was staying over at Carmen's house, Amanda became convinced that the children had been misbehaving. Without warning, she turned them both into dolls and placed them on the shelf with the rest of her collection. Kaya watched in horror as the other dolls came to life and began to harass Carmen and Jacob, who were cognizant of the pain and torment they were receiving but powerless to stop it. They were trapped in the hard, motionless bodies of porcelain dolls. Kaya looked on in terror, wondering what would happen if her beloved friends were broken. Afraid to do or say anything, Kaya remained in bed pretending to sleep. And when morning came, Carmen had returned in her regular-sized human being forms. In tears she explained to Kaya that she and her brother tried so very hard to behave, but that their mother was always mad. She would turn them into dolls overnight anytime she wanted to punish them. In fact, sometimes Carmen and Jacob had worried that the other dolls had once been people too. Other souls who had crossed their wicked mother. Kaya was shocked and told Carmen they had to go to the police, or at very least, their school counselor. But Carmen chuckled darkly, lifelessly, and pointed out there was no way such an insane claim could be proven. Kaya knew she had to do something to help her friends. She snuck into Amanda's room and searched for a way to reverse the spell of the dolls. But as she frantically searched through the shelves, Amanda caught her in the act. In a fit of rage, Amanda turned Kaya into a doll and placed her on a dusty shelf up near the ceiling. Days turned into weeks and weeks turned into months. Kaya remained a stiff and lifeless doll, forced to watch as Amanda sat in dusty rays of gloomy sun, continuing to create more dolls and sell them to collectors around the world. Kaya could feel the pain and suffering of each doll she created and could do nothing but watch in horror as their lives were taken away from them. And of course, the dolls grew bitter quickly and lived to fight at night until such time that Amanda would pluck them from their shelf and ship them off to some unknown, unsuspecting place. The community mourned the missing teen, Kaya. Carmen and Jacob were forced to go along with prayer vigils and search parties, even though they knew Kaya was carelessly tossed on their mother's shelf, gathering dust and likely going insane. Years went by, and Kaya remained trapped on the shelf, frozen in time. The dolls around her grew old and worn, but they remained just as they were, unable to escape the horrors of their past. Carmen and Jacob grew up and fortunately could escape, and they eventually left Kaya behind with their mother, the doll maker. The atmosphere in the room grew even more eerie as time went on. The dolls came to life at night, their eyes glowing in the darkness. They would whisper to each other, plotting and scheming, and Kaya could feel their malevolent energy pulsing through the air. The dolls began to take on a life of their own, their expressions growing more sinister with each passing year. Some of them had cracked and missing limbs, and their eyes seemed to follow Kaya's every move. Others had twisted features, with mouths frozen in a grotesque rictus, as if they were trapped in an eternal scream. Kaya felt like she was going mad, trapped in this endless nightmare with no escape. She could feel the weight of Amanda's gaze on her, even though she was long gone, and the dolls around her seemed to be closing in, suffocating her with their twisted energy. At one time, the doll room in Amanda's long since abandoned house was discovered by a group of collectors. The collectors were amazed by the quality and craftsmanship of Amanda's dolls. They were set to pay a high price for each one, eager to add them to their collections. But when they reached the shelf where Kaya was trapped, they noticed something strange. The dolls on the shelf seemed to be emanating a sinister energy, and the collectors could feel their malevolent gaze piercing through them. As soon as they picked up the Kaya doll, they could feel the pain and torment that she had been experiencing for years. They were shocked and horrified by what they had unwittingly stumbled upon, but not believing their intuition, they quickly returned to Kaya's dirty shelf and ran scared away from the house. Kaya remained there, frozen in time, for decades more until the house was discovered once again by a group of urban explorers. When they found the dolls, they felt an eerie energy emanating from them. But they had no idea that one of the dolls held a trapped consciousness inside, so they left her there among the toxic mold and rat droppings. And so Kaya remained, forever trapped on the shelf, her consciousness doomed to spend eternity as a creepy doll on Amanda's shelf.